It is an overcast, slightly chilly day here in Round Rock, Texas at the Lodge Card Club, and we are going to be playing on the live stream. One of my favorite live streams to play. Great quality, great players, awesome action, and a really cool setup room to play in as well. I buy in for $2,000, which is the max, but this game is match the stack. So if you win a hand, or someone else wins a hand, you get to add on to your stack. The first hand is a fun one where I'm in the small blind, there's a raise to 75, and I look down at pocket aces. I re-raised to $300 before Bulldog cold 4-bets to $600. Action back over on me. I've seen this guy play in the live stream. He is a wild card. I am all in with aces, and he ends up making the call. All in first hand aces versus a premium 9-4 offsuit. Flop is good, turn safe, river safe. We win a $2,000 pot, winning $1,000 on our first hand. It may sound like my voice is a little bit groggy, my nose is stuffed in this voiceover. That's because I'm battling a cold and flu, but I'm not going to let that stop me from making a vlog for you guys. Hope you enjoy this one. Next up, we are playing the nit game, the stand-up game. You guys all know what that is. I raised to $100 with pocket sixes before J-Win 3-bets me in the cutoff to $300. Back over to me. Both of us have to win a hand in order to get rid of our nit button. I'm going to make the call, and we see a flop of 5-8-8. I check to him. He bets out $300, and I think on this flop, I'm just going to want to check raise for protection. If he does have a speed with an overpair, I guess we're just going to lose here, but he's going to have a lot of overcards, ace high, king high, queen high hands that won't be able to withstand pressure if check raise. So I make it $1,000. He folds the worst hand, and we get rid of our nit button. Showing pocket sixes, we are safe for this round. Another fun hand where the dynamic of the nit game really comes into play. I put on the $50 straddle. E-Fan opens up the button with king 8 offsuit to 125 before Joey M's re-raises out of the straddle to $450. Now, Joey has his nit button, but E-Fan does not. I've got king queen offsuit now in the $50 straddle, and I feel like this is a spot that I could put in another raise. E-Fan should be pretty wide, raising on the button. Joey should definitely be wide, 3-betting out of the straddle. It's around 60 big blinds effective with the straddle on, so I decided to turn my hand into a bluff, trying to get ace highs and pocket pairs to fold. I go all in for $3,000. They both fold, and we take down a little profit here of $600 pre-flop. This next hand we're going to go over actually happens 50 hands later after that king-queen offsuit. I go a little bit card dead, don't pick up any playable hands. We're playing the nit game again, and I still have my button. It actually folds to me in the small blind, and I look down at king 4 of diamonds. I think it's a pretty easy raise with the $50 straddle on. I make it $225 to go before Bulldog re-raises me to $650. Now, Bulldog has been going wild this entire session, probably playing 70% of hands, 3-betting, 4-betting, very crazy player. As we saw, he went all in with 9-4 offsuit. With that said, I can't call here with king 4 of diamonds, but maybe I could turn my hand into a bluff and put in another raise.
I don't think I can tax you. Something
18.
like that.
18. I'm all in.
All in.
Hold.
Wow.
Oh.
Bulldog not having it.
I re-raised to $1,800 and get snap jammed on by ace-5 of spades for $8,000. Of course, I make the fold. Still have my nit button after losing this hand. A little bit tilting. I lose another $800 here in this hand. When space ace opens up to 150, I call on the button with the suited connector. Bulldog re-raises out of the small blind. We both call. I miss the flop. Still have my nit button, and now I'm down about $2,500 in the last two hands. In a desperate attempt to win a hand so I don't have to pay the nit tax, I raise cutoff 9-7 offsuit. E-Fan calls, queen 4-5, 2 clubs. I bet small, and he calls. Turn jack. I overbet the size of the pot with my 9 high. He folds 10 high, and whew, we are safe. Over about halfway through the stream, I haven't really picked up any big hands, been making some moves here back and forth. I am down $1,500, but with a $9,000 stack and a ton of money on this table, that can quickly change for the better or for the worse. This next hand, I'm not really sure what was going on in my head, but it's an interesting one, so I want to cover it. Pocket threes for me, early position, I open call $25, something I basically never do. I usually always come into the pot with a raise. I very rarely ever just call. J-Win picks up on this and just calls on the button with King 10 offsuit, maybe afraid I've got a big hand. E-Fan does not care. He raises to 125. Space Ace calls 125. I could call, but for some reason, I just felt like E-Fan was somewhat weak. I felt like J-Win thought that maybe I had a big hand, so I felt like if I re-raised here, I could possibly just take all this money down pre-flop, so I make it $600 to go. J-Win smiles and folds. E-Fan's got King 8 of clubs, and he folds as well, but Space Ace came here to play, and she ends up making the call. Ideally, this is not the best play. Pocket threes just don't play too well post-flop. Ace 7 9 2 spades all over cards. When it checks to me, I check back. Turn card 5 of diamonds, and now Space Ace leads into me for 375. I think it's possible she could have some hands like Ace 10, Ace Jack, maybe some sets with pocket 9s or pocket 7s, but there's a lot of straight draws and flush draws available, and I know that she's definitely capable of firing out here with bluffs. So I get a little bit sticky with my pair and make the call, and the river rewards us 3 of spades, the set on the final card. See guys, I planned it all out. The limp re-raise with pocket threes, the check back the flop, the call the turn, and the set on the river. Space Ace now continues with another bet for $550. And now we have to decide, should we raise for value or should we just call? Once this flush gets there on the river, she's pretty polarized to having a pretty strong flush or possibly a bluff. Not sure if she'll be betting this sizing or this river with a hand like Ace 10 or Ace Jack. With that said, her sizing is somewhat small. She could still have those single pair aces, maybe even 2 pair Ace 9, Ace 7, 9 7. So I think my hand is just too strong not to raise for value. I make it $2,300 to go. As you can see, this does not matter. She's got queen high, and we win this pot, playing a donkey hand pre-flop, getting lucky, and winning a decent one. Upgrading now, hand number 93, pocket kings for me. $100 raise from early position. Brando gets after it here with a 3-bet in the cutoff to $300. This is great news for me. J-Win makes the cold call on the button. Space Ace makes the call on the big blind. And this is a dream spot. This seems to happen a lot in Texas where it goes raise, re-raise, and a bunch of cold calls. With pocket kings here, I want to definitely be bumping this one up. I make it $1,500. Brando gets out of the way with his ace high. J-Win folds his pocket fours. But the big blind, again, wants to see a flop. She makes the call over $3,000 in the middle to a dreadful ace-high flop, up against an opponent whose name is Space Ace with pocket kings and an ace on the flop. Just not what I was looking to see. When the big blind checks, I should be betting this flop basically with 100% of my range, as you would say. If I was bluffing pre-flop with some hands, I'd want to continue on this flop, so I do want to continue here again with pocket kings. There also is some hands I can get value from. A Jack X hand may call a small bet. Hands like King Queen, King 10 for gut shot straight draws will call a bet. Make it $600, and she ends up making the call. Turn card deuce of spades. Action goes check, check. River 9 of clubs. She checks over to me. Don't see too much point in betting here on the river, so I check back. We beat King Queen. Almost a $5,000 pot being shipped our way. After that pocket threes hand and pocket kings hand, we have now grown our stack to $13,000, up $2,300 on the session. With just about an hour left, we do end up playing some fun, interesting hands coming up. With the $50 mandatory straddle on, I want to put this $13,000 stack to use and play some big pots. J-Win opens up the cutoff to $150. I 3-bet 6-7 of hearts in the straddle to $600, and he makes the call. We're heads up here out of position to a queen high board. I bet out $400 like I would do here with almost 100% of my range. I've got some backdoor straight draws and flush draws, and J-Win calls. Turn card's an 8 and now improves me to an open-ended straight draw, but I don't really want to continue to fire here, especially when a 9 will give me a straight, but will also give a jack a straight. I think this 8's going to help his hands a lot more than it's going to help mine with some 2 pairs and straights as well, so I slow down now and check over to Jaywin. He has 4th pair and decides to check back, and we get a great river card with the Jack of Diamonds. You may be thinking to yourself, why is this a great river card, Lex? You still have 7 high. Well, as you can see, Ace-King makes a straight. Given the fact that Jaywin did not 4-bet me pre-flop, and after all the hours that I've watched him play and played with him, I think he's always 4-betting pre-flop with Ace-King, especially on a live stream. I think this is a spot that we can bet huge and try to get him to fold out his medium strength hands. I slightly miscalculate the size of the pot and bet over $2,300. I thought I was betting the size of the pot. Now Jaywin really isn't in that tough of a spot. I mean, he has a 5 here. He's losing to basically everything I have other than maybe an ace-high hand that I'm turning into a bluff, or a 6-7 of hearts hand, or like pocket 3s or pocket 4s. He does think about it for a long time just because this bet size is very polarized. I'm saying basically I have ace-king or pocket 9s or nothing at all. He's thinking for a little bit of time. I'm not too nervous here. I feel like this is definitely going to get through. And it does. We end up winning this pot, bluffing it off, and getting this one through.
Be forced to lay it down. Would have been a very ambitious call
Full the river too.
Oh,
And
from Jaywin.
he beat Charlie. Like he lost the
The British Bulldog is a bad influence. He asked me to put on the $100 straddle so that he can put on the $200 straddle. We're now playing 10, 25, 50, 100, 200 here in Texas. This game has gotten huge. Folds here to the under the gun +1 player who makes it 650 with pocket 9s, and I've got 5, 6 of diamonds next to act in the $100 straddle. I glance over at his stack. He's got about $5,000 to play for. With the $200 straddle, that really isn't too much money behind. I do think in a public, tough game, I would just fold here with my 6 high. But on a live stream, after putting in $100 already, I'm going to make the call, and Bulldog makes the call as well. We flop second pair on a jack high board, and now Joey M's bets out $775. I've got second pair, backdoor straight draws, and flush draws. It is possible he could be doing this with ace-king, ace-queen. Bulldog could have a very, very wide range of hands. I don't really want to fold my 6 just yet, so I make the call for $775, and Bulldog makes the call as well. $4,300, 3 ways now to a not-so-great card for me. Queen of Hearts. If Joey M's continues to bet here on this turn, I'll be snap folding, but he slows down and checks over to me. I really think for a long time if I should bet this turn card. I could have a hand like Queen Jack. I could also have a hand like pocket 6s, given the fact that I have a 6 in my hand, but I feel like it'd be repping super thin if I do bet this queen on the turn. So I slow down and check, and Bulldog checks behind. River card 3, pairing the board. Joey M's checks again. I check for a second time, and Bulldog is not checking. A $6,000 bet on the river by him. Joey folds his pocket 9s, and I'm actually contemplating a call here with a 6. I know British Bulldog is a crazy player and can have a lot of bluffs in this situation, but he could also have a 3. He's good enough to bet a jack for this sizing, and a queen. I don't know, it's kind of close, but I don't really feel like being a hero. A $6,000 bet and a $4,000 pot. I fold my third pair, and we both get bluffed. 5-4 offsuit by the British Bulldog. He takes down almost $3,000 profit here, making a big bluff on the river. Nice hand, nice bet. Only 6 players remain in this live stream. I open up the cutoff 8-6 of spades to $150, and a player we haven't played a hand yet on this live stream, James, makes the call. Ace high board with a flush draw. I bet big, a little bit over the size of the pot, $375, and he calls. Turn card's a queen. He checks to me again. I feel like a lot of the time he's going to have a weaker ace when he calls such a big bet on the flop. Once James checks over to me on the turn, I have to decide, should I check back and try to realize my equity and maybe hit a flush, or should I continue to try to tell the story that I have a big hand and continue to bet? I feel like at these stakes and at this table, I'm just going to want to continue to bet, try to put the pressure on. You can't just wait and try to hit a flush, because sometimes the poker gods never reward you. So I'm going to keep bluffing here, half the size of the pot, $550. This is basically a feeler tester bet. If he raises me here, I'll obviously put him on a straight, 2-pair, or a set. If he just calls, I think he's always going to have a middling ace-x hand, something like ace-deuce through ace-8. So when the river card's a 6 of hearts after he check calls the flop and check calls the turn, I think he's going to have a weaker 1-pair ace. I miss my flush draw. My 6 is probably no good once he calls twice. Should we give up and check back, or should we go for it here and put out a big bet on the river? I'm not sure. This player could be sticky. He's up a lot of money on the session. I have no idea if I should go for it or not. I take about 30 seconds and come up with my decision.
Against two calls? I don't think so. He doesn't either.
Oh, really?
10 quarter.
Quite aggressive. Yeah, I'll wake up at 8 o'clock. I'd look at Poker Atlas and it was
Full pot.
running. I'm like, pretty sick.
That's good.
Yeah.
They were telling me like people just playing overnight, and then the morning crowd comes, and then they go to sleep, and then the evening crowd comes. Like,
It's pretty sick.
Yeah, but when
And there's the fold. Nice play from Lex.
it varies. I mean,
Right, that makes sense.
So it's
sometimes
gonna
it'll be a little
try
bit
All right, we get the bluff through. He folds the ace. We take down this pot. I'm glad I had the balls to go for it there. If he calls, whatever, it happens. Sometimes your bluffs are going to work. This table is very tough. There's only 6 players left. All the other players have busted. All these guys are very, very good poker players, so I have to be on my A game going in to the last hand of the night. Right before that 8-6 of spades hand, I did add on to my stack for $5,000 with a pink bubblegum chip, and I said out loud that I wanted to use that chip as a bet before the stream ended up coming to a close. That will have a little bit of significance here in this next hand. Folds to me, I call for $50 more with 5-3 of clubs, and Bulldog now raises in the $100 straddle to $400. I don't know what got into my head here, but instead of folding and instead of calling, I decided to limp re-raise to $1,400, thinking that Bulldog could sense my call as weakness and maybe fold out some hands, but he's got King 10 of hearts, a great hand. He makes the call, almost $3,000 in the middle to a King Queen Jack 1 club board. All in all, a terrible flop for our 5 high. I check to him and he checks this one back. Okay. Turn deuce of clubs. We now pick up a flush draw with our 5-3 of clubs. After I check the flop and he checks back, I don't think he's going to have any pairs on this board. Feel like he would most likely fire out. Maybe he could have a Queen X hand or a Jack X hand. So I'm going to start bluffing now. I make it $1,100. I get snap called by the Bulldog and get there on the river with a 7 of clubs. I get that nice warm feeling inside my body when you bluff pre-flop, bluff on the turn, and get there with a flush on the river. Now, if we go back earlier in this session, I've gotten 2 key bluffs throughout this session. First one was 6-7 of hearts. I represented ace-king and bet the size of the pot on the river. The second one, I turned my 6 into a bluff and bet the size of the pot, and my opponent folded an ace. So now that I actually do have a hand, I'm going to bet, yes, the size of the pot, which ironically is $5,000, which is the amount of 1 pink bubblegum chip.
He does want to use the pink.
It's a tough spot for the Bulldog.
What to do, what to do, what to do. Big bet. Very big bet.
Bulldog is in the tank here versus this $5,000 bet. His king is now turned into a bluff catcher. Once I bet this sizing on the river after limp re-raising, I'm saying that I have a very strong hand, a hand that's better than King 10. I could also have some bluffs as well, but the big bluff, the flush draw, got there on the river, After thinking for a little bit of time, Bulldog makes a great fold. Letting go of top pair, we get lucky on the river and win our last hand of the night. $2,500 profit with the 5-3 of clubs, cashing out for a $20,000 stack. This ends up being the last hand of the live stream. The table ends up breaking after this. I end up racking up my chips, heading to the cage, and cashing out for the night. Alright guys, that is it for this one. It's a packed house here in Round Rock, Texas at the Lodge. There's a tournament going on behind me as well. So many people here, a lot of action. Just finished up the live stream. It was 5, 10, 25, 50, $100 straddles. I was in the game for $16,000, cashed out for about 19.5, so that is a profit of $3,590. Not too bad, I'll take it. I was in there, I was in the mix, I was gambling it up, trying to play some hands, trying to run some bluffs, and it was an interesting lineup. It was definitely a tougher, more tame poker game than I've played here in the past. A lot of players who were trying to do their best, a lot of players who were trying to win and that were good at the game, so there wasn't too much punting, splashing around, other than the British Bulldog. He was in there just blasting off. So it was an interesting kind of dynamic, not too much action, but still a fun stream, so I'll take a $3,500 profit. Gonna be here for 2 more days playing another live stream, which will be a video out next for you guys. Hope you enjoyed this one. Please like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, I'll see ya.